I give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which in Hebrew are the wonderful names of the Creator, our Heavenly Father, I Am, which this world has named God, and His beloved anointed Son, which this world has named Jesus. I give honor, respect, and thanks to all the true, faithful, and sincere apostles, elders, prophets, and torchbearers of the nation of Israel, who have willingly endured and risked much to bring forth the truth. Thank you, brothers. In this chapter, we are continuing the conversation of the unseen. There is the visible and there is the invisible. There is the seen and there is the unseen. And there is a time for all things. And there is a time when the invisible becomes visible. As always, this is a message to our brothers and sisters of the nation of Israel. The mighty nation of Israel today being the so-called Negroes, the so-called Latins, Hispanics, the so-called Native Americans. We are a people before we are a place. The first scripture we're going to in this chapter is the first book of Corinthians, chapter 8, verse 6. But to us, the Israelites, there is but one most high power, the Father, who art in heaven, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord, Yahweh Shai the Anointed, by whom are all things, and we by him. So unto us, the nation of Israel, the Israelites, who have a covenant, a contract, and an agreement with the one true living most high power. But to us there is one most high power. So there is not someone you pray unto for fertility. There is not someone you celebrate in December who climbs down your chimney. There's not someone you call on for sickness, and then another person that you call on for safe travels, and then another entity or spirit or power that you call on for protection, and then another deity or image or picture that you bow yourself to for good fortune. No. All we have comes from the one true living most high power today through his Son. We have access unto him through the Holy Spirit and also through our mother wisdom. But to us there is but one most high power, the Father, of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Lord, Yahweh Shai the Anointed, by whom are all things, and we by him. 7. Howbeit there is not in every man that knowledge. So this is how they degrade the wonderful treasure of the nation of Israel. They tell you that everyone is welcome in the kingdom, that everyone has an opportunity to inherit like Yahweh Shai, that this word is made available to everyone. It's not true. Howbeit there is not in every man that knowledge. Our Father sent Yahweh Shai unto the nation of Israel. And that's the way it is. The book of Colossians, chapter 1, verse 12, giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us, the Israelites, today the 1/3 of the nation of Israel. So even inside of the nation of Israel, who the Father has a covenant, a contract, and an agreement with, only 1/3 of the nation of Israel have been blessed and anointed to hear this word and to choose. To hear this word and to choose. Giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us meet good, to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light. Who are the saints? The Israelites. the Israelites. Now again, not every one of the other nations is an evil, wicked person. They're not. Our Father's going to have mercy on the righteous souls of the other nations. Everyone must pay their bill. Everyone must pay their bill. We, the Israelites, paid our bills. Everyone must pay their bills. And then there will be some left of the other nations who will live in a world ruled in righteousness. But for the Israelites, giving thanks unto the Father, Yahweh, the Most High Power, the creator of heaven and earth, the creator of all things, the creator and destroyer, giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us, the Israelites, meet good to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light. What's that light? Yahushai, who was sent into the darkness for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Once we, as the nation of Israel, get it right, we'll help the other nations align as well. But the inheritance and the eternal kingdom are for the nation of Israel, and we give thanks unto our Father for that. The book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 15. So, the one who brought us light was around from the very beginning, as we read in 1 Corinthians and as we read in Colossians, chapter 1, around from the very beginning, and has brought the light of wisdom and experience. Has brought the light of wisdom and experience. The book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 15. And Yahweh, the Most High Power, took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to dress it and keep it, given dominion and stewardship of the property of the one true living Most High Power. 16. And Yahweh, the Most High Power, commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat. 17. But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die. This is mine. I made this. I'm going to give you dominion over it. I'm making you a steward of what I have created. Here is what you can do. Here is what you cannot do. So, there must be respect. And that respect must be made visible. That respect must be made visible. If not, there are consequences. And so one of the subtlest and most damaging things that have been taught in this last wicked kingdom is freedom. Do as thou wilt. There are consequences, and they've been around from the beginning. The book of Sirach, chapter 3, verse 20. Sirach is also called Ecclesiasticus and can be found in the Apocrypha, which is the middle book of the King James 1611 Bible. For the power of the Lord is great, and he is honored of the lowly. The lowly are the meek, which are the Israelites, but the lowly are those who understand the order, who understand that there is indeed a one true living most high power who we serve. And if we serve in truth and in sincerity and humbly, consistently, we can become friends with, and still he is the most high power. For the power of the Lord is great, and he is honored of the lowly. 21. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search for the things that are above thy strength. So this is again another place where many of our brothers and sisters get into trouble. They want to try and understand everything. That's not possible. It's not. Not in this flesh. Nor do we need to. We need to understand that there is, in fact, the one true living Most High power. He exists. And there are things that we are to do, and there are things we're just absolutely not to do. And that's enough. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search the things that are above thy strength. So, for instance, with this channel, I'm clear that the Father has made me and this channel an engine of war, right? So that there are men, elders, men who've gone before me, who are great at hand-to-hand combat, right? They can pull out their daggers, they can pull out their swords, they can pull out their spears, they can do one-on-one, they up close and personal. The way this channel is designed is as an engine of war, brought out for unique occasions, filled with the Holy Spirit, aimed in a certain direction, and, shot at the very foundation of the enemy. And so that which is given me to speak, I speak. And that which is not given me to speak, I don't speak. I just don't speak it at all. It's like I'm not married, so I'm not going to speak on marriage at all. I'm just not. But the light has been, Yahushua, the light has been through a lot and can bring wisdom and experience to the nation of Israel. We each have our position to play that we are uniquely designed for. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search the things that are above thy strength. Do what you're designed and built to do. We all serve the body, and we all have our position. But the main point being, there's something that's in all of us, and that is the respect of the authority of our Father which is in heaven, the one true living Most High power. That respect that's due him. 22, but what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence. So where did Adam get in trouble? Where did Eve get in trouble? Adam got in trouble by listening to Eve. Eve got in trouble by not listening to the one true living Most High power. By going directly against what was instructed of her. And then Adam listened to her. Both of them not respecting the one true living Most High power. But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence, for it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret. So our Father has given us life, and life eternal through his commandments, statutes, and laws. That is the purpose of them. We don't have to know how they work, just that they do work. And so today, to the best of our abilities, we try and work these commandments. We have the grace of Yahushua. We're practicing the righteous acts. But there's a reason for it. But what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence, for it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret. So there are things that are unseen, and that's okay. It's okay. This deep curiosity comes from the mockers and the scoffers who've spent centuries trying to disprove the one true living Most High power. Don't follow behind them. Don't follow behind them. If you go in, you know he exists. You know he does. You do. And he's still speaking to us today. So remember, it's the Father through the Son, through the servants. As the Spirit brought out, you have to pay attention to the time, Israelite, and where you are, and what you're doing, and who you're tempting. You must pay attention. This last wicked kingdom is coming to an end. Our Father, through the Son, through Yahushua, is demonstrating real power. Humble yourselves. Humble yourselves. Remember, the Father loves none but those who dwell with wisdom. You better be dwelling with wisdom. It implies a careless disregard for privacy or wisdom. And so then you have people like this, right? They want to know the secrets. They want to know the secrets, right? The Father's like, all right, you look a little bit, and then you're out of here. You're out of here because it's disrespectful. It's disrespectful. So these people were taken out. There's no need for you to be up there. There's no need for you to know that. It doesn't do anything for your life. So that was then, and then we have today. So today is Saturday, May 23rd, 2026. These are always done on Saturdays, so-called Saturdays. And so this week, this is what happened. So this week, this is what happened. You want to tempt the Most High Power? Go ahead. Go ahead.
The bodies of 4 missing divers have now been recovered in the Maldives after they reportedly became trapped inside a deep underwater cave. 3 Finnish cave diving specialists had been brought in to support the recovery mission after earlier search efforts turned deadly. Local military diver Mohammed Mahdi died from decompression sickness after attempting to reach the group, prompting officials to suspend operations over safety concerns. The Italian divers are believed to have vanished nearly 160 feet below the surface, far beyond normal recreational diving limits.
Returning to the book of Sirach, now chapter 37, verse 27. My son, prove thy soul in thy life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that unto it. So what's a great way to prove yourself? Listen to the commandments of the one true living Most High Power given unto you, Israelite. That's a great way to prove your soul. My son, prove thy soul in thy life and see what is evil for it. It's laid out for us. It's laid out for us. And then as we go through it, we can learn about, the spirits that we're drawn to, and, what we need to battle and what we need to allow to be, right? So we learn the spirits that we're open to, because again, we're here to be perfected. We're here to be perfected. My son, prove thy soul in thy life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that unto it. So, for instance, in identifying spirits, and what spirits are trying to have access to your vessel, to you, mainly. The first step is through your mind, through your heart, right? So trying to get you to think upon it. And you think about it, and then you start to resonate with it. Your frequency, you start to resonate with it. And then it can come be a part of you, So I like, what's the best way to do this? Okay, there's someone he's married, and you look at his wife and you think, wow, she's cute. You leave that alone. Leave that alone right there, right? Because then it becomes, she's cute. I like her hair. Wow, I like the way she smiles at me. Oh, wow, she's standing close to me. This is nice. You see that? Right? Subtle. And then that spirit starts to move you forward to things that aren't for you. Okay? These are the things to look out for. 28, for all things are not profitable for all men, neither hath every soul pleasure in everything. So again, we're all designed to serve specific purposes. And what works for one doesn't work for another, but there's a through line. And what has been made visible unto us are the commandments of the one true living Most High Power. The second book of the prophet Esdras, chapter 7, verse 24, there be many that perish in this life because they despise the law of the Most High Power that is set before them. 21, for the Most High Power hath given straight commandment to such as came what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. Who were the statutes? Who were the commandments, statutes, and laws given unto? Those who were taken out into the wilderness, the nation of Israel. Who gave them to us? An Israelite, our forefather, the prophet Moses, straight from the mouth of the one true living most high power, straight from the presence of the one true living most high power, because our Father was out there with us. Our Father was out there with us. For the Most High Power hath given straight commandment to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. This is the love of the Father. Things that have been made visible. Visible. The book of Psalms, chapter 71, verse 1. In thee, O Yahweh, do I put my trust. Let me never be put to confusion. Right? So our Father's not the author of confusion if we're following behind him, staying on the path that he has set out for us. 2, deliver me in thy righteousness, and cause me to escape. Incline thine ear unto me, and save me. Deliver me in thy righteousness. We don't have to understand how it all works. We just have to do it. Don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Don't do it. Right? That's deliverance. I'm telling you what not to do. And cause me to escape. Incline thine ear unto me and save me. Hear my prayer, Father. Please hear my prayer. 3, be thou my strong habitation, whereunto I may continually resort. Thou hast given commandment to save me. That's the purpose of what he's given us. All right? So the rulers of this last wicked kingdom, the devil, which means deceivers, who are death, I tell you, that's a mean, strict God of the Old Testament. And they make you think that his ways are oppressive when they're not. They're designed for our well-being in this flesh. Be thou my strong habitation, whereunto I may continually resort. Thou hast given commandment to save my life, for thou art my rock and my fortress. That's our safe place. What has been told us is for our benefit. And we can count on our Father. We can count on his words. And so many things have been spoken in this living water, this living word, the Bible, which is the past, the present, and the future, all rolled into one. Many are like seeds which have been in the ground of time, just waiting for their season to blossom. That's all. Waiting for their season to blossom. Now, before a tree becomes a full tree, it's a bush. And so there are things that we are witnessing today that aren't the full thing, but they are in fact representations of what is coming, which is the fulfillment of the words of the one true living most high power, the unseen being made visible. The book of the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 23, verse 19, behold, a whirlwind of Yahweh is gone forth in fury, even a grievous whirlwind. It shall fall grievously upon the head of the wicked. So that whirlwind is like a tornado, hurricane, a swirling wind. A swirling wind. 20, the anger of Yahweh shall not return until he have executed, until he have performed the thoughts of his heart. In the latter days ye shall consider it perfectly. You shall see it. You shall understand it. You shall be able to discern it. You shall be able to distinguish it. You shall be able to say, lo, the words of my Father in heaven are blossoming. The book of the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 23, behold, the whirlwind of Yahweh goeth forth with fury, a continuing whirlwind. It shall fall with pain upon the head of the wicked. 23, the fierce anger of Yahweh shall not return until he hath done it, and until he hath performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days ye shall consider it, meaning you shall see it, and you shall think, The words of my Father, which are in heaven, are blossoming. The book of the prophet Isaiah, chapter 66, verse 15, for behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. So there's going to be the whirlwind, and there's going to be the fire. You know, it's going to culminate in a very specific fashion. And yet, the book of Romans, chapter 1, verse 2, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and most high power head, so that they are without excuse. For the invisible things of him, the words that have been planted in the ground of time, for the invisible things of him, the words that have been planted in the grounds of time, from the creation of the world, are clearly seen, starting to blossom, starting to bud, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and most high power head, so that they are without excuse. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, as the Spirit brought out.
That is nuts.
For behold, Yahweh will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. 16, for by fire and by his sword will Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh shall be many. So that sword is the wicked. So the sword is the wicked, and then there's fire. And there's going to be many types of fire. Many types of fire. But the Spirit has been on me for one specific type of fire, bringing out the warning around one specific type of fire. For by fire and by his sword will Yahweh plead with all flesh, and the slain of Yahweh shall be many. So the whirlwind and the fire. So if you, as an Israelite, blessed by the Father to be able to hear today and see today, we're able to see the new world starting to take shape. We're not there yet, but we can see it's starting to take shape. All praise to the one true living most high power. The words of our Father are starting to blossom. The words spoken for the latter days, for the end times, they are starting to blossom. The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. This is one of the sweet joys of the servants of the one true living most high power. Men who have been out in the highways and the byways saying, thus saith the Most High, as it is written. Thus saith the Most High, as it is written. And then it moves from the unseen and is made visible. And then you really point at it and say, thus saith the Most High, as it is written. All praise to the one true living most high power. 2, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear. So the wicked, those who mocked and scorned and scoffed, those who belittled the one true living most high power and his son and his servants. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for. So many think to themselves what the prophets, the brothers, the modern day prophets, the brothers who are out on the street at camp, the brothers who are giving classes, and the brothers who are online speaking this word in truth and in sincerity. Many believe that it's outlandish what is being spoken. It's outlandish. It's crazy. It's over the top. Well, we serve a mighty, mighty power. That's who we serve. So more and more as we move through, this is all for the glory of our Father in his name, so that there's no questions anymore ever again. Ever again. So the creator of all things is demonstrating real power through the Son, Yahushai, through the Son. The Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13, verse 1, surely vain are all men by nature who are ignorant of the Most High power, and could not out of the good things that are seen know him that is. Neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the workmaster. So his servants come out here and say, as it is written, thus saith the Most High. Here's what you can expect, right? So there are big prophecies that have occurred and are continuing to occur. And then there's the blessing of the Spirit, the dispensation, and things are said on a sort of smaller scale, but can still be seen. They move from the unseen and are made visible. And so for those of the nation of Israel today who are still a little up in the air, you have to make a choice. And you have to consider the works. And you have to consider who the workmaster is. So if the servants are out here saying things, thus saith the Most High, as it is written, and they're coming off just as it is spoken, well, you need to know who's filling them with the water and the Spirit. 2, but deemed either fire or wind or the swift air or the circle of the stars or the violent water or the lights of heaven to be powers which govern the world. 3, with whose beauty, if they being delighted took them to be powers, let them know how much better the Lord of them is, for the first author of beauty hath created them. Right? So our Father through the Son, with the heavenly hosts, the heavenly angels, made things from the very beginning. They belong unto the one true living most high power. They serve the one true living most high power. So if you can honor the power of things that have been made visible, you need to really honor the unseen that has made them, which is our Father in heaven. 4, but if they were astonished at their power and virtue, let them understand by them how much mightier he is that made them. So we start to look at the whirlwinds and the fire right next to it. They are the blossoming of the words of the one true living most high power, letting you know they're going to grow full. They're going to go full bloom. They're going to grow into exactly what our Father says they're going to be. This is his love. His servants are out here saying to you, you see that? That's our Father through the Son. He's doing exactly what he said he's going to do. So the major prophecies, they're going to be fulfilled. Choose. But if they were astonished at their power and virtue, let them understand by them how much mightier he is that made them. 5, for by the greatness and beauty of the creatures, proportionably, the maker of them is seen. So, for by the greatness and beauty of the creatures, proportionably, the maker of them is seen. So what's one of those creatures that has been made by the one true living most high power that is doing its job as it has been created to do? What's one of those creatures? The book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 4. Yahweh hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. And the wicked are being wicked. They're doing their wickedness. They are. They are. As the Spirit brought out. A wise man can look and say, you know what? I'm mistaken in that. I've studied, I've looked, I've considered, I've distinguished, I've discerned. I'm incorrect in this assumption or this point. I will now release that point, and I will now embrace this thing which can't be refuted. So this is a place where a lot of our brothers and sisters are today. And you have to make a decision. You must choose. Because the devil, well, they're on their way. They're coming.
A Canadian passenger who traveled on the cruise ship that was infected with hantavirus has now tested positive. That brings the total number of cases to 11. Canadian health officials say that passenger tested positive after going to the hospital with symptoms. The person was traveling with a partner who was also hospitalized. So far, that person has tested negative. All confirmed cases of the virus have been passengers from the MV Hondias cruise ship.
This morning, I want to give you an update, as we mentioned, on the 4 people who were isolating in Island Health here. One individual started to develop mild symptoms, including a fever and a headache, 2 days ago. Protocols were followed to bring them and the person they were isolating with, this is the couple that were together, to a tertiary care hospital here in Victoria, where they were both assessed and tested for hantavirus. Late last evening, the BC CDC Public Health Lab reported that the test on the individual who had these mild symptoms was positive for the Andes strain of hantavirus.
The unseen is being made visible. Things are being made crystal clear. The outline of the eternal kingdom world without end, it's coming into view. It's coming into view. We understand where we are, what we're passing through, and where we are headed. The book of the prophet Job, chapter 9, verse 24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. That means the wicked are in rulership. They say how it's going for a time. And this is what they choose to do.
Early on Sunday, I declared a public health emergency of international concern over an epidemic of Ebola disease in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda. This is the first time a Director General has declared a FIC before convening an emergency committee. I did not do this lightly. I did it in accordance with Article 12 of the International Health Regulations after consulting the ministers of health of both countries, and because I'm deeply concerned about the scale and speed of the epidemic.
The World Health Organization has declared an Ebola outbreak a health emergency of international concern. A rare strain of the virus has killed 88 people, as experts warn the disease may have been spreading undetected for 3 weeks. The Ebola virus has an average fatality rate of 50%, meaning that 1 in every 2 people who catch the virus will die of it. Most of the cases so far have been in Democratic Republic of Congo, but 2 patients are in intensive care in neighbouring Uganda. Fears are mounting over the spread of the virus as deaths jumped from 65 to 88 since Friday. Officials from the Africa Centres for Disease Control and Prevention have been unable to identify patient 0, and health officials have been unable to identify the exact number of cases, but it's estimated more than 300 have been infected. They believe the first case was recorded in the third week of April. According to the World Health Organization, the disease is highly contagious and spreads to humans from wild animals like fruit bats and monkeys. It can then jump between humans through bodily fluids like blood, feces, semen or vomit, or contaminated surfaces. Symptoms include high fever, aches, fatigue, and a sore throat. Later, patients can experience failed liver and kidney function and internal bleeding. Symptoms usually appear within a week of exposure, though sometimes as early as 2 days after infection. Between 25 to 90% of people die after being infected by Ebola, depending on the strain.
The book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 12. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. So the wicked are plotting. This is one of those manifestations. This is the Spirit brought out. This is a storm, and it's brewing. There's a real storm coming. They're setting things off now. Their time is coming to an end. They know it. They want that full world dominion, which they're not going to have. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. Now, again, what you want to pay attention to is that they are now working out a way to restrict your movements. So they chew on you with their laws and with their decrees, and with their statutes and with their rules and regulations. And so they're going to be gnashing upon the citizens of this earth through this thing that they are unleashing. The wicked plotteth against the just, and gnasheth upon him with his teeth.
The outbreak is in the DRC and Uganda. How concerned are you that the virus will cross more borders and spread even further?
I'm quite worried for the region, not for the rest of the world. One, it's probably that this has been going on for quite a while, because there have been clusters of cases across the province of Ituri, the northeast Congo. As you know, 80 deaths, including 4 healthcare workers. This is a region with high insecurity, high population mobility. And finally, as you mentioned, this is an unusual strain of Ebola virus. It's called Bundibugyo. We have no proven vaccines, no proven treatment.
So the fact that this is now showing up in these major urban centers poses concerns about whether they're going to be able to contain this. In all the previous outbreaks, all but one of those was a different strain, the Zaire strain. The strain that we're currently dealing with now is the Bundibugyo strain of the virus. And that's significant because the fact that officials have so much experience with the Zaire strain means that they were really prepared for that one. A lot of the treatment and any kind of research on medical countermeasures has been focused on the Zaire strain and not the strain that they're currently fighting. This is a border area. There's a lot of cross-border trade between Congo and Uganda, especially. So a lot of population movement related to that. This is also a region of Congo that is hit hard by fighting between armed groups, which can create lots of, mass displacement. And there's mining activity, which contributes to a lot of population movement. So there's people moving around, at all times across large distances, which will potentially, complicate any efforts to contain this.
The book of Psalms, chapter 11, verse 2. For lo, the wicked bend their bow. They make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privily shoot at the upright in heart. Well, who is an archer? If we go back in the history, who is an archer? Who was sent out to hunt for a meal for our forefather Isaac. Who has been given the blessing of the sword? Who loves to use those arrows? Those arrows today are missiles, rockets and missiles. Those arrows today are rockets and missiles. The ultimate arrow, thermonuclear, intercontinental, ballistic, heavy-duty, multi-payload missiles, arrows. For lo, the wicked bend their bow, they make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privily shoot at the upright in heart. That arrow today also is the tip of a needle. It's the tip of a needle. It is the tip of a needle.
Ebola is a rare but really very deadly virus. It occurs naturally in animals, but when it spreads to humans, the results can be devastating. And that's why the World Health Organization has declared this to be a public health emergency of international concern. The virus, it can take anywhere between 2 and 21 days for symptoms to develop. And at first, they come on very suddenly. It can look like flu. So you might get a headache, you might get fever, you might get tiredness. But as the disease progresses, it can turn into vomiting and diarrhea and sometimes lead to organ failure. And also some patients can develop internal and external bleeding. One of the big problems with this outbreak is there is no vaccine or any approved treatment that targets the Bundibugyo virus itself.
An Ebola outbreak in the DRC and Uganda has been declared an international public health emergency. Here's why. This strand is called the Bundibugyo virus. It's the most recently discovered type of Ebola virus, and it's still quite rare. That's why this outbreak went undetected for so long. Even now, we don't know the true size of this outbreak. There are no vaccinations, and it's moving quickly. The outbreak began in the Democratic Republic of Congo in Central Africa. Its eastern Ituri province has been identified as the epicenter, and it's where most of the cases and deaths have been recorded. Since then, there have been confirmed cases in Goma and neighboring Uganda. The World Health Organization is concerned because the virus appears to be traveling across borders. So, how does it spread? Ebola is caused by a virus originally caught from wild mammals. It then spreads from person to person when you touch infected body fluids or blood or infected items such as clothing, bedding, or needles.
The book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 14, the wicked have drawn out the sword and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy and to slay such as be of upright conversation. So we know who has the arrow, and we know who's been blessed with the sword. Remember, talks in code. Today we have the light to speak boldly, and yet still you have to have the Holy Spirit to understand. The wicked, so that identifies someone, have drawn out the sword. Well, who's blessed with the sword? And have bent their bow. And who's an archer? It's in our history. Who's an archer? To cast down the poor and needy and to slay such as be of upright conversation. So, this is who we're dealing with.
The Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda is a global health emergency, according to a new declaration from the World Health Organization. Here's what we know. The WHO says at least 300 suspected Ebola cases and more than 80 suspected Ebola deaths have been reported in Congo. 2 confirmed cases have also been reported in Uganda, but those patients had reportedly recently traveled from Congo. The cases are centered largely in Ituri, a province in the northeast part of Congo, already dealing with an ongoing humanitarian crisis and extreme violence from militia groups. Now, this outbreak is caused by the Bundibugyo virus, a rare variant of Ebola that does not have an approved vaccine. That, combined with the rapid rise in cases, prompted the WHO to declare the situation a public health emergency of international concern.
Well, the situation is complex. It's really difficult. As you know, we are at day 4 of the declaration of the outbreak, an outbreak that has been rampant and transmitting and disseminating silently for days before it was really properly diagnosed. So the situation is difficult, but now we've got people on the ground, we've got the first supplies on the ground, and we are really starting the response operation.
What we first have to recognize is that this is a potentially devastating outbreak. Compare it with the West Africa Ebola outbreak from a decade ago. When that outbreak was first identified, there were 40 cases, and it had been going on for weeks or months. When this outbreak is identified, there may be as many as 400 cases. It's already in 2 or 3 countries. It's in places that are very hard to access. So this is going to be really tough to manage. And that's why global collaboration is so very important.
So as we make our way through the valley of the shadow of death towards the new kingdom, as we make our way through this dry kingdom, one of the problems that a lot of Israelites have is, well, the wicked can't be that many. They can't possibly have that much power. And again, they forget who they're dealing with. They're dealing with the deceiver. And in order to serve in their kingdom at the highest levels, as princes and princesses and lords and ladies inside of their kingdom, they have to bow their knee to the devil, which are the rulers of this last wicked kingdom, who are death and filled with the spirit of Satan, which is the spirit of the adversary and the accuser. And they are in the highest levels. Think about the new kingdom. Yahushua is going to be the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. He's going to be right underneath the Father, right? The Father's in heaven. Yahushua is going to be here on earth. Spirit of the Father in Yahushua. You think there's going to be any wickedness in his kingdom whatsoever? There's not going to be one drop of it. There's not even going to be a whisper of it. It's going to be nowhere near his kingdom. The same applies here in their kingdom. They're not allowing righteousness, life, living water. They're not allowing that at all. Know where you are. The book of Psalms, chapter 12, verse 8. The wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted. The wicked walk on every side when the vilest men are exalted.
So the WHO is calling it a public health emergency of international concern now. An Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda is suspected of causing at least 88 deaths now. So far, there are 10 confirmed cases and 336 suspected cases in the DRC. According to the CDC, a small number of Americans are even directly affected by this outbreak, and the agency is working to coordinate the safe withdrawal of those Americans. The CDC also saying today that it will restrict entry to the U.S. for non-American travelers from the affected regions to prevent this disease from spreading in the U.S.
President Donald Trump says he's concerned as the death toll of Ebola has tripled and at least 6 Americans have already been exposed to the deadly virus. An American missionary doctor working in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has tested positive for Ebola and has been evacuated to Germany for treatment. 2 other doctors exposed to the virus, including his wife, are now quarantining after treating Ebola patients in the country. In response, the U.S. has temporarily stopped people in Uganda from applying for U.S. visas and introduced restrictions on travelers arriving from countries affected by the virus.
Ugochi Iloka, following a World Health alert for you this morning, we're hearing from health officials that Congo has reported 500 Ebola cases and 131 deaths linked to Ebola. Why this is important and that they're monitoring all of this is because we know come June 14th, a Congo soccer team will be flying here to Houston ahead of their World Cup match, their first one. They'll be also practicing here ahead of the tournament. And so we're not sure how the CDC's travel restrictions to affected areas, including Congo and Uganda, in relation to Ebola, will impact those plans.
The book of Psalms, chapter 28, verse 3, draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to their neighbors, but mischief is in their hearts. So again, this is our forefather, the prophet and King David. So what he speaks is in this living water, this living word. As it was then, it is today. It is for today. Draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to their neighbors, but mischief is in their heart. So people are looking at this situation and they're saying, well, they're all saying that, this is nothing to worry about, right? So that's the equivalent of someone saying, yeah, the kitchen's not on fire, don't worry about it. Well, if 12 people come out and tell you, hey, yeah, the kitchen's not on fire, don't worry about it, worry about it. Worry about it. Draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to their neighbors, but mischief is in their hearts. Meaning, don't be swept into this last wicked kingdom. The righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth. You can be seduced. Don't be seduced. And this is the prayer of our forefather, the prophet and King David. Draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to their neighbors, but mischief is in their hearts. You must look and contemplate and see the unseen, because the truth is being made visible. The power that is available unto us from our Father is extraordinary. Let's just take our forefather, the prophet and King David, if you don't quite comprehend that. The book of Psalms, chapter 22, verse 13, they gaped upon me with their mouths as a ravening and roaring lion. So this is our forefather, the prophet and King David, speaking as Yahushai, being crucified before Yahushai was even here. Do you understand? They gaped upon me with their mouths as a ravening and a roaring lion. To the King of the Jews, the King of the Jews, if you be the Son of the Most High Power, bring yourself down off that cross. Save yourself. He could save others, but he couldn't save himself. 14, I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted in the midst of my bowels. This is him being up on the cross. This is Yahushai being up on the cross, the experience of Yahushai being up on the cross. 15, my strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue cleaveth to my jaws. Thirsty. And thou hast brought me into the dust of death. So Yahushai was up there to complete what had to be completed for the Father to forgive and cleanse the nation of Israel. He took on all of the sins of the nation of Israel, of the Israelites, and made it right between the Father and the nation of Israel. 16, for dogs have compassed me, the assembly of the wicked have enclosed me, they pierced my hands and my feet upon the cross. This is our forefather, the prophet and King David, speaking about an event that hasn't happened yet, but that will happen, that did happen, and happened as he spoke it. 17, I may tell all my bones, they look and stare at me. Now, not a bone was broken on him, but he was beat badly, and his bones were poking through his skin. And 18, they part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture. So this is what happened to Yahushai when he went through his crucifixion. So our forefather, the prophet and King David, spoke this before it happened, and he spoke it exactly the way it happened. The unseen made visible. A loving gift from the one true living Most High Power. Returning to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, now chapter 6, verse 9. Unto you, therefore, O kings, do I speak, that ye may learn wisdom and not fall away. 10. For they that keep holiness holily shall be judged holy, and they that have learned such things shall find what to answer. We do that which we are commanded to do, because the commandments were given unto the nation of Israel. The nation of Israel is holy unto the one true living Most High Power. If we keep that which we have been given, we stay unto the Father. We stay the Father's. We stay His and belong unto Him. And they that have learned such things shall find what to answer. So when they come to you and tell you that you need to take that arrow, an aspect of that arrow, to combat what they have released, you'll know what to say. 11. Wherefore set your affection upon my words. Wherefore set your affection upon my words. Desire them, and ye shall be instructed. 12. Wisdom is glorious, and never fadeth away. Yea, she is easily seen of them that love her, and found of such as seek her. So, again, they throw you off the path, and they tell you that, quote unquote, Jesus has done it all for you. The laws are done away with, the commandments done away with. Just sit back and relax, put your feet up. You're free to do as thou wilt. Don't worry about it. Wisdom is glorious, and never fadeth away. Yea, she is easily seen of them that love her, and found of such as seek her. You have to do your work. You have to do your work. One of the biggest is pray for wisdom. Pray for wisdom. Wisdom will be the stability of your times. Pray for wisdom. Wisdom is glorious, and never fadeth away. Yea, she is easily seen of them that love her, and found of such as seek her. With wisdom, you can discern what is actually going on.
First, it was meningitis, then it was hantavirus, and now an Ebola emergency of international concern. It feels like there has been one outbreak after another recently. So should we be worried that one of these could spark the next global pandemic? While there are hundreds of outbreaks a year, most of which never get widely reported, there are three key reasons why they seem to be on the up. First, the COVID pandemic hugely disrupted prevention and surveillance programs. Even in Britain, disruption in meningitis vaccination programs left young people vulnerable, particularly when mixing at university. Second, climate change is driving the proliferation and spread of insects like mosquitoes. Warming weather allows cold-blooded insects to survive in colder regions. It speeds up the breeding cycles, increases biting rates, and shortens the time it takes for larvae to mature into biting adults. In response, disease outbreaks caused by infectious pathogens have increased nearly fourfold since the pandemic years. Third, global conflict has risen to the highest level since the end of the Second World War, and the risk of outbreak doubles in countries at war. Sub-Saharan Africa consistently records the highest number of pandemic-prone disease outbreaks, accounting for nearly 32.2% of the total events. So the aftershock of the pandemic, coupled with global warming and increasing warfare, has created the perfect storm for disease.
So do you think this outbreak of Ebola is much larger than originally suspected, Doc?
Absolutely, Kira. One of the important signs that is coming out of this outbreak is the test positivity rate. That's the percentage of tests coming back that are positive. The most recent numbers show us that about 60% of the tests that are coming back are positive. Now, Kira, that is a big red flag. And the reasons behind that is because you want your test positivity to be low. You want your screening to be broad, and you want the amount of people coming back positive to be low. It helps you to understand how well you're doing. When the test positivity is that high, that likely means that this virus is spreading faster than officials can keep up with, and the outbreak is likely larger than what is currently being detected.
Right now, 5 dangerous viruses are spreading across different parts of the world, keeping global health authorities on high alert. First comes Ebola. The World Health Organization has declared the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo a global health emergency. The rare Bundibugyo strain has already caused at least 80 severe cases, while hundreds of suspected cases are still being investigated. Experts warn the virus could appear in more regions if strict measures are not taken. Then comes Mpox. In Connecticut, U.S. health officials confirmed a new Mpox case involving a traveler who recently arrived from Western Europe. At the same time, France recently dealt with a suspected norovirus outbreak aboard the Ambition cruise ship carrying nearly 700 passengers and crew members. Another cruise ship in the Caribbean also reported nearly 100 infections linked to the same virus. Meanwhile, hantavirus, reportedly linked to the MV Hondius cruise ship, has now spread across parts of Europe and multiple U.S. states. A new COVID-19 variant has also been detected in Western Australia. Many people online are now calling May 2026 the month of viruses.
Returning to the book of Psalms, 37 now, verse 32. The wicked watcheth the righteous and seeketh to slay him. So again, the unseen is being made visible. There are things that have been locked in this living water for a long time, but now we're in the amplification process. And so the things are becoming clearer and clearer and louder, so that you can really hear them and see them crystal clear. Crystal clear. The wicked watcheth the righteous and seeketh to slay him. So who is that? Well, it's in our history. The first book of St. John, chapter 3, verse 11. For this is the message that ye heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. 12. Not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. And wherefore slew he him? Because his own works were evil, and his brother's righteous. The wicked watcheth the righteous and seeketh to slay him. So there are spirits that have been around from the very beginning, and they're fulfilling on who they are, and they're making themselves absolutely crystal clear. It is clear who is who, and what is what, and where we are, and what is going on. Who has the arrow, who has the sword, who has the kingdom.
How concerned are you about this outbreak?
Ebola is a disease that kills about 1 out of every 2 people who've ever had it. And my concern here is that Ebola never tells you it's Ebola. It looks for the first week like it's flu, like it's malaria, morning sickness, but then it becomes this disease. And the really unfortunate part here is where it is. This is an area that has had to deal with weakening systems. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has fought and won against Ebola more times than anywhere else. But at the start of last year, there were these different factors. There are the mines. This is in a gold mine. Conflict minerals. There's rebel groups that came in, displaced government groups in different areas. And then there were the aid cuts, and also the weakened systems for the global support of experts who work on this. So we really have this perfect storm where we have a disease that I never want to see anyone ever get, is spreading in an area where it's much more difficult to control.
And there's currently no vaccine or treatment for this particular strain.
Before we had treatment and vaccines. We don't have a treatment or a vaccine that's proven against this. Ebola is something that spreads often by people who care for other people. It spreads in hospitals, it spreads in families where you're going to make sure your child is cared for no matter what the risk, or you're going to make sure your mother is buried properly no matter what the risk. And I've seen whole families be infected by this disease, and I've seen nurses really put their lives on the line to help others in their community. The first week, usually people feel fine. It's just hard to diagnose. It's the second week when people start having the diarrhea, the vomiting, fevers, they may have confusion. That's when it's a lot harder. And that's really the unfortunate part, and why we see it just progress in some people and this mortality rate that we never want to see.
How likely do you think that this is, that it would come to the United States, and are we prepared?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is really why we want to always be prepared. We need to have systems that are always on. We need to make sure we are supporting the experts for these diseases. We have to always have investment in infection control. When you have hospitals, this disease spreads in hospitals. So in homes where people care for others, but in hospitals more than anywhere.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 10, the soul of the wicked desireth evil. His neighbor findeth no favor in his eyes. The book of Proverbs, chapter 28, verse 15, as a roaring lion and as a raging bear, so is a wicked ruler over the poor people.
Globally, the last month has seen 2 deadly disease outbreaks. First, hantavirus and now Ebola. And we're being warned it's not going to stop there. According to the Global Preparedness Monitoring Board, which makes recommendations for how the world should deal with health emergencies, infectious diseases are becoming more frequent and more damaging. There are a number of reasons for this, including the climate crisis, armed conflicts, and increasingly fractured political leadership. They warn that even with the lessons learned from COVID-19, we are not yet meaningfully safer, with risks still outpacing the level of preparedness. That's being made more difficult by a lack of resources, with public health officials saying the billions of dollars pulled from the World Health Organization by the US and the dismantling of USAID has directly contributed to the current Ebola outbreak.
Now remember, our Father, which art in heaven, has made the wicked for the day of evil, just like he has made the Israelites, the so-called Negroes, the so-called Latins, Hispanics, the so-called Native Americans. He's made them for the eternal kingdom of the nation of Israel, for righteous rulership upon the earth. So the wicked are doing that which they have been designed to do because they chose to do it. But make no mistake about it. The intents of our Father, they are blossoming. The second book of the prophet Esdras, chapter 15, verse 1, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy which I will put in thy mouth, saith Yahweh. 2, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Thus saith the Most High, as it is written. Thus saith the Most High, as it is written. 2, and cause them... 3, fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. And so this is where the servants really earn their keep. We have to come out here. We have to speak, thus saith the Most High, as it is written, and deal with the scoffers and the mockers and the haters from all the other nations, from the heathen, and then even from our own nation, 2/3 of our own nation, and even from our own families. We've got to deal with it. But our Father says, fear not. 4, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. So it's the old saying, you know, it doesn't matter whether you believe in the ocean or not. If you go into the ocean, you're going to get wet. It doesn't matter if you don't believe in the prophecies of the one true living Most High power. When they are fulfilled, you're going to get wet. Wet with the prophecies. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. 5, behold, saith Yahweh, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. This is what our Father has said. These words, which have been planted in the ground of time, are now blossoming. 6, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So there was a job, and the wicked were doing their job, and the wicked are still doing their job. They're still doing their job. And the unseen being made visible, we were told what to look for. The book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 18, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. 666. Well, COVID was in 2020. Here we are 6 years later. Back then in COVID, you had to stand 6 feet away from people. Today, they want you to quarantine for 42 days. 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 years, 6 feet, a number of days that when combined together equals 6. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast system of governance. For it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 49. These are the curses that our Father, which art in heaven, through our forefather, the prophet Moses, told us, the nation of Israel, out in the wilderness. And he said, if we do good by our Father, through verses 1 through 15, here would be the blessings. And if we do evil, verses 16 through 68, here are the curses that would come upon us. And in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 7, it says that these curses will transfer unto the other nations. Once we've completed, they will transfer unto the other nations. So what's something that happened unto us, which is now beginning to transpire? Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. So who is the head nation upon the earth today? What is one of the things that represents them? Who has dominion upon the earth today? Who has say and sway today? 50, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. Well, that's what we're seeing, isn't it? That is what we are seeing. They have power. They have power.
We have a potentially explosive situation involving a flight to the United States. This is an Air France flight in the air right now. Left Paris, was going to Detroit, and something happened during the flight which has led U.S. authorities to say the plane is not allowed to land in Detroit. It is being diverted to Montreal and expected to land around 5:30 Eastern Time today. Minutes from now, as I'm recording this video, there are reports from an alleged passenger on the plane in a Reddit post that something about a virus was mentioned and that flight attendants have donned masks. Now, of course, this is happening in the context of hantavirus. It's also happening in the context of Ebola and a massive Ebola outbreak in Africa. Now, normally, we don't know whether this flight situation and this rejection of this flight is because of either of those viruses. We also normally have a situation where Ebola is not that contagious in the sense that it's not typically airborne like COVID or flu, and it requires the transmission of fluids directly. But there are fears that this current strain or mutation has the potential to be more airborne like a respiratory virus. This is all extremely speculative.
The second book of the prophet Ezra, chapter 12, verse 23. In his last days shall the Most High raise up 3 kingdoms, and renew many things therein, and they shall have the dominion of the earth. 24. And of those that dwell therein, which with much oppression, above all those that were before them. Therefore are they called the heads of the eagle. So this beast system of governance, remember, it's the man, Esau, Edom, Idumea, Mount Seir, the so-called white nation. Inside of them is that family, Amalek. They run a few things today. There's their beast system of governance where they all are in unison together. governing upon the earth, and they're given power by the dragon, which is just sort of how they swagger. It's the way they move through the earth. And so now they're demonstrating that by, if you pay attention, right? So they stopped a cruise ship. The French stopped a cruise ship and held a cruise ship, and now they're diverting flights. They're letting you know, we have the power. We have the power. You can't do anything. You want to go somewhere? You got to come through us. You want to fly somewhere? You got to come through us. You want to travel? You got to come through us. They're flexing, right? But it's oppression. Pay attention. 24, and of those that dwell therein with much oppression above all those that were before them, therefore are they called the heads of the eagle. 25, for these are they that shall accomplish his wickedness, and that shall finish his last end. So there are those that are set aside for this time to pour out the last dregs of the wickedness. And it is payment for, first and foremost, the 2/3 of the nation of Israel, but also for the wicked of the other nations, for how they have carried themselves upon the earth, how they have treated the sons and daughters of the one true living Most High in power, and for their hateful mockery and scorning of the one true living Most High power, who they know to exist, who their elites know to exist. They know he exists. For these are they that shall accomplish his wickedness, and that shall finish at his last end.
Really what's happening is that we have been, and we still are, and for the next 10 years we will be, rewiring the global economy to lay the networks that we laid before, which were highways, utilities, railways, and now we're laying cloud, artificial intelligence factories, and data centers. And that, on the fundamental basis, that's what's happening. So there will be $10 trillion from power, AI, factories, data centers, and fiber build-out laid to basically rewire the world for the new economy that's coming.
Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3. This is prophecy. This is prophecy. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come. So it won't come until something happens. But the day is guaranteed. But it won't come until something happens, and you get to look for it. That's part of the timeline. That's part of the markers. That's part of things being made visible. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first. So many who are in the truth, sadly, are going to fall away because they weren't fully in the truth. There are going to be many who double down on the false teachings and the false doctrines that were given them to pacify them by the deceiver, by the wicked, by the devil, which means deceivers who are deaf. They're going to double down on that, not on what they instinctively know to be true. They won't consider, they won't discern, they won't distinguish, they won't meditate upon. They want the broad way, the comfortable way. They want the way that is made visible to them by the rulers of this last wicked kingdom. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. There would be clarity for the entire earth to see who is who and what is what. And for years now, men, women, and children, unarmed and in their homes, have been being murdered. There's just no questions about that. And that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. 8, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. So our Father comes in the name of the Son. Remember, it's Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Our Father comes in the name of the Son. And so, and then shall the wicked be revealed. It's clear. If you need more, then welcome to the fire show. Welcome to the fire show. And then shall the wicked be revealed, whom Yahweh shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. And so that consuming with the spirit of his mouth is his prophets, his servants. We're out here right now. We're indicting this man worldwide, indicting him. Yes, Father, that's why we call the two witnesses, Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom. We're the two witnesses. Yes, Father, I saw them over here on Thursday doing this. Yeah, Father, I saw them on Tuesday morning over here doing this. We've got video proof. We have video proof. We've got written proof through history and news articles, and consuming with the spirit of his mouth. So that spirit is Yahweh Shai. The mouth is the servants today, indicting the wicked.
There are images. There's been a deadly hazmat emergency in New Mexico. 3 people have been found dead. More than a dozen first responders who raced to the scene now overcome and rushed to the hospital. So let's get right to ABC's Trevor Ault, who's following this for us. Trevor, what do we know?
Well, David, very alarming situation here unfolding east of Albuquerque. Emergency crews arrived at a home there and found 4 people unresponsive. 3 of them are now dead. Then the first responders started falling ill. About 24 people exposed to an unknown substance, many of them experiencing dizziness and nausea. They were all taken to the hospital for decontamination, and now 3 of them have been admitted. Right now, there are hazmat teams there at the house as authorities are racing to try to figure out what this unknown substance even is.
There's also a developing story in the West tonight. Tens of thousands of people told to evacuate after a toxic chemical leak. Authorities issuing an urgent warning. Here's ABC's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, a hazmat emergency south of Los Angeles. 40,000 residents ordered to evacuate in the town of Garden Grove after a toxic chemical leak from a tank at an aerospace facility. Orange County officials say there are only 2 possible scenarios, both of them dangerous. Either the tank could fail or it will explode.
The book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 8, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse. That pale horse is Esau, Edom, Idumea, Mount Seir, in their old age. They've waxen old. And his name that sat on him was Death, death of the rulers of this last wicked kingdom. And hell followed with him. Hell is everyone that follows behind in their beast system of governance, everyone who supports them and is part and has bent the knee to Baal, who serve Satan. And power was given unto them over the 4th part of the earth to kill with sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. And they're doing what they've been created to do. They're doing it.
WHO assesses the risk of the epidemic as the high at the national and regional levels and low at the global level.
The first book of Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. There's nothing to worry about, nothing to see here. Don't worry about a thing. Go back to sleep.
There are now more than 500 suspected cases and more than 130 deaths linked to this Ebola outbreak in Central Africa, and it is showing no signs of slowing.
So if you've seen this graphic floating around, unfortunately, it is already out of date. It is Wednesday, May 21st, 2026. Let's talk about the Ebola outbreak that is located at the border of Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. As of this evening, there are now 160 suspected deaths and nearly 700 suspected cases. Also, about 300 miles south, it has been reported that someone has likely died from Ebola. Locals at the heart of the outbreak are understandably upset and have now set fire to an Ebola treatment center, because they were not allowed to retrieve the body of one of the deceased. That is what the news is reporting. And at least 3 people who were undergoing treatment for Ebola fled back into the community, at least temporarily, and the aid workers have left. There are now efforts to fast-track a vaccine for this strain of the Ebola virus, not being led by the United States, and they do believe it will take at least 6 to 9 months. During that period of time, it is expected that this outbreak will grow.
It really is quite stunning and wonderful when you see something pop up through the earth. A word of the one true living Most High Power that was buried in the earth of time, in the ground of time, centuries ago. And it just starts to pop up. And you're like, wow. Because you have the eyes to see it. And you're like, wow. The book of St. Matthew, chapter 24, verse 7, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. 8, all these are the beginning of sorrows. The book of St. Luke, chapter 21, verse 11, and great earthquakes shall be in diverse places, and famines and pestilences and fearful sights and great signs shall there be from heaven. And great signs shall there be from heaven, as the Spirit brought out clearer. The book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 7, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all kindred of the earth shall wail because of him. Even so, amen. In the end, it's going to be those chariots. But right now, he's coming with these clouds of judgment and destruction upon this earth on behalf of the one true living Most High Power.
The world is in for an El Nino event, driven by warmer than average waters in the Pacific Ocean. This year, that global weather pattern could be more severe than normal, something meteorologists call a super El Nino.
We are saying that the El Nino is likely to happen, and this event will be strong.
That means some countries will see severe flooding, while others will be hit with hotter heat waves and even drier droughts.
The likelihood of harmful extreme fires potentially could be the highest we've seen in recent history if a strong El Nino does develop.
There has already been a record-breaking start to the global fire season. More than 150 million hectares burned worldwide between January and April. Scientists say adding El Nino on top of an already warming world will likely result in 2027 being a record-breaking year, and maybe even 2026 too.
It is now no longer possible to just say, this is just something that the scientists worry about. It doesn't affect normal people. It's affecting normal people, and it's affecting them all over the world.
The El Nino is forecasted to develop in the summer and intensify late fall. Whether it will turn into a super El Nino is yet to be seen.
There's now a forecast on ocean temperatures that are going to exceed anything we have seen in recent history. And this is compared to 1877 when we had the biggest El Nino year ever. Oceans are the battery of weather. The oceans absorb heat energy. And absorb, gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and then that heat energy is released into the atmosphere, and then the atmosphere drives the weather events that happen all over the world, and it becomes somewhat predictable that you can estimate what the weather over the next year is going to be like based on how the temperatures are sitting in the ocean today. At this point, there is so much excess energy stored up in the oceans, about 11 million terawatt hours. The whole planet Earth uses 25,000 terawatt hours in a year. So 11 million extra terawatt hours of energy is currently stored up. That's 500 years worth of human energy in this ocean. And over the next few months, that energy is going to be released into the atmosphere. And that will absolutely, 99% confidence, that will make the upcoming year the hottest year on record by far that humans have ever experienced. I'll just give you some highlights of what this means over the coming year. There will be major atmospheric river events where you just get water dumped on you in the Southwest, in California, and the Gulf Coast. You'll have very low snowfall and very high heat waves in the northern part of the U.S. going up to Canada. You got interior regions of the U.S. like in Phoenix and so on. They're already seeing temperatures at 106 degrees in May. A super El Nino, like is forecasted for this year, could extend that duration of these heat domes which could create temperatures that we've never seen in those areas. Southern Argentina, Chile, Brazil could see record-shattering heat waves. And this is where things start to get a little nasty, because when that happens, the crops start to fail. So if Brazil's crop fails, if Australia's wheat crop fails, Australia's wheat crop goes to places like Indonesia and the Philippines. Hundreds of millions of people depend on that. Hundreds of millions of people depend on the exports out of Brazil. Brazil's the world's largest ag exporter. And the scariest one of all is if the monsoons fail, which is now a very high probability event in India. 150 million farmers in India that depend on their agricultural output, or they don't make any money, they can't survive. And 1.5 billion people that depend on that food.
Somewhere inside a NOAA supercomputer right now, a number is climbing, slowly, quietly. And almost nobody in mainstream media is talking about what that number means, because the last time it climbed this high, this fast, with this many independent systems agreeing, somewhere between 30 and 50 million people stopped existing. More deaths than every soldier killed in the First World War, combined, from a weather pattern. And here's the part that should make you genuinely uncomfortable. The scientists who studied that catastrophe didn't blame the weather alone. They blamed a very specific 3-part ocean configuration. And as of this week, all 3 parts are moving into position again. We're talking about the 2 most closely watched, most institutionally trusted, most independently constructed climate forecast systems on the planet. NOAA's Climate Forecast System version 2, known as CFSV2, and the North American Multi-Model Ensemble, known as the NMME, and both of them, right now, in the late spring of 2026, are pointing at the same number, a number that, the last time the real world actually produced it, ended more lives than the combined military fatalities of the First World War.
This is why I'm gonna stay my ass in Harlem. This is why I'm gonna stay my ass in Harlem. Because in Harlem we got hills, man. Wade in the water, wade in.
Yeah. I'm going to pick my wife up from the train with an umbrella. And I'm thinking, what's the point? We are getting soaked. Yo, we are back in New York, and this is what we're greeted with. No, look at it. It's like the ocean waves. Look at the waves.
And every eye shall see him. So these things are coming closer and closer together, like a woman in travail. Storms that never happened before are just happening more frequently. And this superstorm, or super display of the Father through the Son, That's judgment. Righteous judgment. So where do you want to be, Israelite? Where do you want to be? The book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 11, and after 3 days and a half, the Spirit of life from the Most High Power entered into them, to the Israelites, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. So the only ones who are going to be ready for what is brewing upon the earth are those of the nation of Israel who are standing upon their feet. They are not asleep here in the night, in the darkness. They are not comfortable and relaxed and at ease, nursing off the comforts of this last wicked kingdom, the whore that sits on many waters, but standing on your feet, declaring who you are, who you serve, who you wait for, and who you will not betray. That you will not let random spirits have access unto your vessel, because you understand that you as an Israelite are part of the third temple, where the one true living Most High Power will rest. You understand who you are. You understand where you are. You understand that we as the Israelites standing on our feet signify the unseen made visible. The last scripture we're going to in this chapter is the book of the prophet Nehemiah, chapter 6, verse 15. So the wall was finished in the 25th day of the month Elul, in 52 days. 16. And it came to pass that when all our enemies heard thereof, and all the heathen that were about us saw these things, they were much cast down in their own eyes. For they perceived that this work was wrought, made by. For they perceived that this work was wrought of our Most High Power. So what is occurring upon the earth today is a testament that what our Father says shall occur, shall occur. A Savior is moving closer and closer for the nation of Israel. The outline of the eternal kingdom of the mighty nation of Israel is being made visible. We can see it off in the distance. We are making our way toward the eternal light. We're being guided along the way, as our Father said we would. He said we would wake up in the land of our captivity, and that we would remember him, and that we would think upon his name. That is occurring. Who we are is being made visible. Our salvation is being made visible. The end of this last wicked kingdom is being made visible, and it is at the hands of the wicked who are being made visible. Our Father does what he says he's going to do. Always has, always will. Make no mistake about it. World War III and the nuclear destruction of America are coming. It will coincide exactly with the return of our King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Savior, High Priest, and Brother, Yahushai. Thus saith Yahweh. Philippians 2, 9 through 11. Wherefore Yahweh also hath highly exalted him, and given him a name which is above every name, that at the name of Yahweh every knee shall bow, of things in heaven, and things in earth, and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Yahweh is Lord, to the glory of Yahweh the Father. As it is written, Thus saith Yahweh, and nothing can stop it. This is a final warning, Israel. Shake off this world. Remember who you are and come home. All praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai.